I think we can. Okay. Welcome everybody to our first industry guest talk with Paige Wilson. Let's welcome Paige. Woo! So, industry guest talks are a series of talks each week. Some weeks we have two guests. So usually happens in this room. So we have either guests in Auckland. So they're lovely and kind enough to come over to see you in person. Sometimes we have guests from all around the world, from US, Canada, Japan. Miguel is working in Japan. So still happens in this room that you're going to see them on big screen talking to you, and we use that camera to them see you. So you can, there's Q&A, kind of a in-person experience. We try to create an in-person experience for them as well. Paige Wilson, oh, actually, I'm going to take this away so you can see my handsome face. So Paige Wilson has been a VFX student in our department, a very good student, actually. She worked really hard, helped a lot of other students. She graduated. Once she graduated, I think you got the award for best visual effects project. So you have seen, I think, the poster of a project on the corridor. After graduation, she has worked on multiple. I don't spoil it, so I'll let her explain it. She has worked on multiple projects as a 3D artist in different, actually it was mainly game design components. So that actually shows the flexibility of our programs, how you can kind of develop your skills to find out like your position in different places around the world. She's an influencer. So you might have been following her. She creates content that encourages and kind of brings happiness and joy and passion to all 3D artists around the world. Okay, so let's welcome Paige, and you can clip it.
Should I clip it on? Okay. Let's hope it's not too noisy. Okay, let's hope that's fine. Okay, so yeah, hello, I'm Paige. Welcome to my talk. I've called it Crab and Communities, a chaotic talk for people who don't know what they're doing. So firstly, I just want to explain what we're going to chat about today. It's mainly going to be about how your career does not have to be linear, and it can actually take you all over the place. Personally, I think that's pretty sick, but of course that comes from my own experiences. So I'm going to try and explain this through the journey that I have had in the industry. I also want to talk about this because I find uni is a place where you feel you have to have a plan for what you're going to be doing for the next like 10 years or something. You get told to make connections, focus on this area of expertise, stand out from others, and it's kind of overwhelming at times. So hopefully by the end of this talk, you'll feel a little more chilled out by it all. I also want to just put a disclaimer that everyone has a very different journey through all of this. So your journey will also be different and so on. Whether that's from like different privileges, interests, or just what comes up in life. You don't want to be constantly comparing yourself to others in the industry. There's no point. It's just wasting a lot of energy and vibes anyway. Just focus on your own journey and it'll be so much smoother. Definitely try to take advice from different experiences, but if your journey is different, it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. You might also end up having a very linear career. Like you might land a job as, say, like a 3D modeler, and you might do that for life. That's cool as well. I didn't do that, so that's not what I'm going to be talking about. But if that is your style, that is also very chill as well. So the very start of my entire journey was here at AUT. I really liked video editing, and I thought this was a good place to see what I wanted to do. I took the VFX pathway and found throughout studies that I was a very generalist person. I hate sticking to one thing forever. I just get too antsy. And when you see where my career has taken me, you'll kind of see that come up as well. And yes, my passion started when I was a teenager, and my favorite anime is Full Metal Alchemist. So if you like anime and haven't seen it, you should. But I basically made an anime music video to a song for it, and I was like, wow, this goes pretty hard. Like, I think I should do this as a job. And then, so I originally thought that this meant that I should go to work on movies, like, because I really liked editing. I also thought this through uni as well, as I took the visual effects pathway. And I learned through that pathway, being a generalist artist, that I wasn't actually a fan of like VFX on its own. Like, I did enjoy it, but it just wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. The environment was just not what exactly I was looking for. And I've just had some up and down experiences that I've heard from people going and being like, I'm working 80 plus hours, but I get to work on a movie. And I'm like, that doesn't sound fun. I want to sleep. But obviously that depends on where you go. There are great VFX places. Yeah, exactly. I was basically like, that's not my vibe. I don't want to go through that anyway. So I decided I was going to keep looking for VFX jobs and also have a look at what else there was to offer. So my final year at uni was incredibly busy and hectic of a year. It was 2020. That's when COVID first came into the entire picture of everything. And that decided to not stop literally everything happening at once. I spent my capstone project creating an entirely 3D D&D fight scene using motion capture, and it was a lot of fun. I decided I wanted to learn as much as I could instead of focusing on having something incredibly polished. I just wanted to see how much I could do in a year and how much I could learn. I did like the rigging, motion capture, modeling. Basically, you guys probably know the drill. It's kind of a lot. So again, you can see that I really don't like doing just one thing. So I got to keep doing lots of different things. Speaking of, guess what I also had to do? My professional practice work experience. So I was like, okay, why not get an internship where I work 2.5 days on top of my final uni project for the entire year? Because that sounds like a great idea to do. Spoiler, it was not. I was so tired. It was not a good idea to have. I will admit, though, the actual internship was something that I really wanted and definitely worked out for me. In terms of how I got hired by Wanderer, the company I went with, as an intern, it was January that year. And I literally just searched up on the NZGDA website, the New Zealand Game Developers Association. And I just applied to every single game studio that was on the website, whether they were hiring or not. I sent them an email introducing myself and was like, you will look at my portfolio or else. And then obviously I got like a lot of rejections, except for Wanderer. They hit me up and they were like, we actually need an animation intern to help out because we have one animator on the entire game. And I was like, oh my God, you poor person. So luckily, she was willing to take me in and teach me a lot of the ropes as an animation intern and for motion capture. So I obviously said yes. Throughout the year, I also wore a mocap suit and did some of the acting, cleaned up animation, and just found out that I really, really liked working on video games. So in terms of what Wanderer is, it's a time travel adventure game where you play as someone who carries a wristwatch that can teleport you through time using a variety of historical objects. It has a lot of puzzles that require you to jump in and out of timelines to solve them and save humanity. It's very, very fun. I've included the trailer because it's less talking for me and more pretty pictures for you. And it's the launch trailer, so it's shiny and new. It came out January this year. Again, I found it really fun. It's out on like PSVR, Steam, and Viveport, but if you have a VR headset as well, that's kind of important. Let's see if this plays with sound. I hope it's not too noisy. Oh, we don't have sound. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. technical team on it.
Oh, there we go.
If you're privileged enough to be viewing this film, that means you're about to become privy to
Well,
an
there we
undertaking
go.
that has the potential to reshape the world as we know it. I present the Temporal Transformer. Eagle, this is Houston. We still have no response from you. We presume the worst. Passing through President Nixon now. Good evening, my fellow Americans. Fate has ordained that the men who went to the moon to explore in peace will stay on home to rest in peace. And though the Soviets have accomplished putting the first man on the moon, know that for us Americans, we are sending two of our sons into the unknown. Sons who lay down their lives for a most noble goal. We will not give up.
Yeah, so that's Wanderer. Let me go back to my notes. Cool. So it was a very fun project that I got to work on. We're doing the animation for that. Now we'll look back to Wanderer in a moment, but you're probably wondering like, wow, okay, Paige, can we move on from your final year? Like we get it, you did stuff. But no, I did one more thing that was important that I have to tie in. So I actually started building my own TikTok platform in 2020 as well. I mainly used it to document my final capstone project. It was a good way for me to have a break from my capstone project while still getting to have like another creative output. Also, then I could just like laugh away the pain that I was going through with some of the troubles. And so it was just, yeah, making memes on the 3D problems that I came across. And weirdly, people liked it, and so did I. I found the whole process so much fun just to create content, and thus another passion came out, I guess. So nowadays I do still post, just like less frequently. It's mainly because I like work a full-time job now and I'm tired. But nowadays it's mainly making someone like Kermit the Frog dance to like a sexy song or something, or making these little birds dance like an Elden Ring. So okay, why is this important? All of these things tie together at the end of 2020 for me. So I was like, okay, I'm finishing my year. I need a job. I need money. So I was like, okay, I want to do full-time work. I hope Wanderer is willing to like hire me full-time maybe. And then they were like, hey, so we don't actually like have enough work to have you as a full-time animator. And I was like, shit, okay. So they decided to be like, but we heard that you have a TikTok account and you're doing kind of okay at it. Do you want to try out community management? First of all, I was like, I don't even know what that is. Secondly, does it mean I get a full-time job? So should I still do it? And this is basically where my favorite motto came up that I religiously use now, which is fuck around, find out. Where I basically am just like, well, I could try this out, and if I don't like it, I'll just look for other work. I'll see what happens. I like creating content, and apparently that was part of the job, so I took the job. So a quick rundown of what that is for people who don't know what community management is. Same. But basically what it is they run the community for games. So studios will hire people to build and manage their community. So who's their community? Obviously people who play their games. So the aim of the job is to create a social media spaces for the gamers to go and stick together and build up hype for their game and project. So for Wanderer, I built up a Discord server for the game, so players who were interested could join the server and hang out and ask questions about development and just keep up to date on the news about Wanderer. I also helped build our Twitter account and made behind the scenes videos on our YouTube. I basically ended up doing half animation work for Wanderer and half community management, so very 50-50 the whole time. So in short, the job basically involves social media and content creation, but also focusing on keeping that community together and retained for that studio. I also very much believe in like sharing salary transparency. I feel like it's kind of kept a secret a lot when you're first starting out. When I started at Wanderer as an intern, I was earning minimum wage, just hourly since I was doing 2.5 days. And then when I became their community manager animator full time, I started on salary earning 41K, which is basically minimum wage as well. And I was with Wanderer for about 2.5 years. And I definitely should have been asking for more eventually as I got experience, but I was new and I was scared. I thought I'd get fired if I asked to get a raise, which is stupid. But that was just part of gaining experience for myself. But overall, Wanderer was a lot of fun. I got to learn the ropes of the role as a community manager there. And since Wanderer was the studio's first game, they gave me the space to play around and just see what worked. Sadly, about 6 months into my work at Wanderer in 2021, they told me that my hours were going to be cut down to roughly 8 hours a week, but it was mainly because the game was being delayed and they just didn't have much work for me to do, which makes sense because it got pushed back about another 6 months, I think. And so I was like, okay, I still need to pay bills, sadly. So what do I do next? So now I finally take you to where I am today at AgroCrab. So they are an indie studio based in Seattle, and I work remotely from home with them. So as to who they are, their first big title was a game called Going Under. It's a satirical roguelike dungeon crawler where you explore the ruins of toxic tech startups. You play as an unpaid intern, and it's a very good take on capitalism and just bad tech industry culture. I needed full-time work, so Nick, who was one of the studio heads and a very, very talented art director, he's done a very good talk on like just art style of Going Under. He came across my tweet about needing work. So I put on Twitter and I was like, hey, I need money. I'm a community manager. And actually went onto my Twitter and didn't look through there. He found my personal TikTok account linked to my Twitter and also saw my previous experience with Wanderer. He hit me up asking to have a Discord call, and I remember being so nervous. I was like, oh my God, this is like a very cool studio. They're based in the US. It's going to be like a scary, serious interview. And then I got into the call with him, and he immediately brings up my TikTok of Kermit dancing. Kermit, who was ripped and absolutely naked, dancing to a sexy song. And he was like, with this like American voice and everything. And he was like, you made a video with the audio going, smack my ass like a drum, to Kermit the Frog. And then he was like, we need someone like this. And I was like, oh, okay, this is doing way better than I thought this was going to go. So I really didn't expect that to be the video he brought up. We were in the call and he just like pulls out his phone and starts scrolling for it. And I was like, oh no. But yeah, he basically decided that I was a good fit for their brand. And then again, going back to salary transparency, the US definitely offers a lot better opportunities in terms of salary as well. I went to earning 41K a year at Wanderer. I now roughly earn about 83K per year on salary, which is basically double, $40 roughly an hour, depending on like translations of costs. So bouncing into new jobs definitely raised my pay by a lot, but also moving from different industries changed that too. The New Zealand games industry isn't really able to pay their employees a lot, sadly, due to the lack of budget that indie studios receive here. Also other reasons, but there definitely needs to be more funding in the industry here. Once again, like I'm more than happy to answer questions about any of that stuff afterwards if people do want to ask. I am very much all about being transparent about salary and getting people paid what they deserve. So back to AgroCrab. I ended up starting for them in October of 2021. My first job was to help them publish a game in 1 month. So that was a fun thing to start with. Usually when you publish a game, you want to spend like at least a year doing that. It was a creepy indie game called Subway Midnight. You play as a little character named Liz, and it's a lot of fun. It's only like $14 on Steam. We decided to use it to kickstart our studio's TikTok account for AgroCrab and basically onboard me onto the position like all at once. So Subway Midnight is such a creative game. It was made by a friend of AgroCrab. His name is Bubby Darkstar, and he made the entire thing himself, which is pretty cool. The story for why we decided to publish it for him was that he was getting messages from like big bucks publishers who wanted to delay the game by like an entire year and take a large cut of the profits, which for an indie developer, that kind of sucks, especially when you made the entire thing yourself. So in Aggro Crab fashion, we were like, okay, bet, what if we published it and released it in 1 month? Just to kind of like show off what we can do. And to clarify, Aggro Crab is usually a developer, so usually we make the games, but a publisher deals with all the legal stuff and the advertising and all the nitty-gritty bits for releasing a game. So we just wanted to try it out just once, which was really, really fun to just play around with. The game is very, very artsy. I do recommend it. It's less of a scary horror game and more of like a spooky experience. And once again, I'm including the trailer. After this, I have one more trailer, and then that's all the trailers. But to give my voice a break again as well. Yeah, so it's a very different game to the very hyper-realistic game I just worked on, you know, like very arty, very pretty. I love the colors. It was so pretty to do. Cool. Oh, don't do that. So back to Aggro Crab again. So for people who haven't heard of Aggro Crab itself, we're quite well known for our Twitter account being a little like unhinged and, well, aggro. We tweeted penis one time, and it was a pretty exciting day, just to kind of prove what we can do with the brand. Our brand focuses on being unprofessional and basically not taking any smack. It's a lot of fun because we get to challenge the typical customer service tone most companies feel that they have to follow. We're making games, and it's supposed to be fun, so why not make it chaotic at the same time? So we don't put up with gamers who think they can harass the team just because they bought the game. So a lot of the times we have memed on people who thought they could be rude as hell to us. We don't get many angry people anymore, which is quite nice. But yeah, so I spend a lot of time on our Discord growth and also our Twitter, but I mostly make TikToks for them over at Aggro Crab Games, mainly promoting our next upcoming game. And my 3D work and knowledge of that has allowed me to, a lot of the time, I'll be hopping into the project of our next game and recording stuff and using the models and all of that experience that I gained in VFX to create content to promote the game. So it's overall a lot less work for the other teamers, for the rest of the team, for when I need content as well. It's very, very cool. Okay, so this is the last trailer, I swear. So we're currently working on another Crab's Treasure. Surprise, surprise, we're making a crab game. It'll be our second game, and it's coming to Nintendo Switch and Steam in 2023. Another Crab's Treasure is a Souls-like platformer about a hermit crab named Krill. A lot of people have called it Dark Souls, but you're a crab. So, yeah. He returns to civilization of the underwater world and finds that awful things have been added to the world, like pollution, microplastics, and honestly, the worst of all, taxes. So his prized shell has been repossessed, and you have to hunt it down to get it back. If you hate capitalism or capitalism, you'll probably like it. This is the last trailer, but it's my favorite, so I've attached it for you to watch. And it's already grown a lot more since this trailer, but this went live on the Nintendo indie segment, and it was like 1 a.m. my time. But that's, again, what comes with working remote with a US team. Most of the time zones are at like 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. is where all the big announcements happen. Okay.
Rated T for teen.
Woo. Yeah. No. There we go. Cool. So yeah, it's Undercover Treasure. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, I don't know, it's a good game. So I've gone through my entire journey of where I am now, gone through all these different places, hopped into these different roles and jobs, and you're like, all right, what's the point of this whole thing? So now that I have shared that, and what I've done in the past like 3 years, which is very weird to think about, what do I take away from this? One quick thing is that you might have noticed a lot of my career is supported by my social media presence. I've been very active on growing my platform on TikTok, but I also got really involved with the game dev community on Twitter. Even though Twitter can be kind of a hellscape at times, which is fair enough, it's really, really good for networking from home. This is also for like VFX and like all forms of artists as well. You don't have to be like aiming to be like, I don't know, like an influencer with like 1 million followers. Like you don't have to be doing that. Like it's more of the point of showing your work online. I highly recommend just building a platform for your work. You don't have to create funny videos or anything either. Don't think you have to be on top of the hip memes or anything. Like just sharing your art and latest work is a really great way to network. Having these platforms also makes it incredibly easy for other people to find you for work. It's honestly a win-win to have these casually going. And honestly, I don't know where I would be without what I had done that way. And even though my presence is what got me into community management, I know lots of people who have advertised that they're looking for work on Twitter for character art, programming, and have gotten lots of success that way. So LinkedIn is not the only form of professional networking anymore. Obviously, it is still great, but it is not the only one that you should be like advertising yourself on. You also don't have to use Twitter, but like try to get onto other places like ArtStation or like Instagram, whatever you really do prefer. But yeah, AgroCrab literally hired their visual effects artist for the game and programmer through Twitter. They were just like, hey, we need a VFX artist, DM us or send us an email and we'll look at it. And that's how we got people, because they already knew our brand, and then so people kind of had an idea of what they were going to get in for anyway. But what I mainly want to show is that your career can change drastically in such a short amount of time, and that is totally okay. If anything, that's really cool. When I was in uni, I remember being up really late at night being like, oh my God, I'm never going to find a job. I'm just going to be in debt. And what do I do? Like, shit, what do I do? And then as I got through my career, I realized I found comfort in just like seeing what happens. And I know that sounds like really hard to be like, just don't worry, just stop. Like, I know it sounds hard to do that. And it definitely takes time to kind of develop that. And I also want to acknowledge there's a lot of privilege in that too. So I'm lucky to have been able to get an education and find the opportunities that I have. I'm lucky at AgroCrab that our time zones link up well, so I can work remotely. So think about those factors for that as well. I think that's really important to acknowledge. But yeah, so I love doing a variety of things, like I've said like 50 times now. I'm very much a person who's happy to float around and just see what happens. It took a long time to get the courage to be able to do that, and just like, I don't know. So I just kind of started with the small things of like saying yes to like little opportunities that I felt I could take. Of course, don't do anything you don't want to do. If you were like, I would rather like die than have to go and take this job, then like obviously don't take the job. It's okay. Yeah, so realizing that a lot of the stuff I was stressing about was out of my control anyway, and that helped me be like, I'm just like a person floating on a rock. Like, why am I stressing about things I can't control? Like, there's no point. That's too much energy to do. So I really focus on changing my mindset to enjoying what I have right now and just to kind of keep moving forward. I think I also thrive a lot out of spite. If Same probably knows, but like if someone tells me I can't do something, I'll do it just out of spite to prove them wrong. um, yeah, so like my biggest take is basically try to take those scary steps that you might not know what fully leads to within reason. Don't just like sign up for a mysterious job that you don't know anything about, you know, do research and be smart, but you know, see where the vibes take you if you can. At AgroCrab, I think I am hoping to spend a very long time with them. So I think my journey is going to be a little more chill now. But those chaotic last couple of years have been some really memorable and incredible moments for me, just fucking around and finding out. It's been really, really great. So hopefully it's likely going to chill out a little bit more for me. And I also want to end this with some tips that I learnt from this journey that are also very super important. Firstly, touch grass, please. By this, I do mean that you need to find a hobby outside of your career. And if you dare try to be like, oh, but 3D is my hobby. Firstly, I don't believe you, okay? You need to have other hobbies. It can be your hobby, but you need to find other things to do as well. Pick up something like crochet or like cars or like gardening. Just like anything that is separate is really, really good to have. Kayak, do that. Yeah, oh, that sounds actually pretty good. You'll find that this also helps problem solve work-related issues anyways, and it's honestly just a win-win. The amount of times that I've been stuck on a project or like content or when I was doing uni work, and then I would like go and hang out with mates or I would go and do something separate, and then it would just click in my mind because I was problem solving doing other things and just giving my brain a break. Also, secondly, it's not a flex to treat your health badly. If you think it's okay to like work like 12 hours plus a day on like career work, you're going to get burnt out very, very quickly. And it is not a flex like at all. You're not bragging by being like, haha, I didn't sleep last night. I was too busy rendering. If you're saying that, it's because you're in deep shit, okay? That's why you're in this position. And you don't want to do it again. You want to learn from that. Also, uni is the time for you to learn from this. Don't worry, I also did it and it was a bad idea. It's good to learn from that now. And yeah, so yeah, all you're going to do is get burnt out or unwell. Burnout can take years to recover from. I don't know if people have mentioned that before, but sometimes if you get burnt out, it can take years to really get back into the groove of just creating anything. And also this can relate and reflect your work environment. So if you get extra work done by not sleeping for 4 days, does that mean everyone else has to not sleep for 4 days so that they can match the amount of work that you've done? Like that doesn't really like seem fair, you know? So it's kind of thinking about creating a positive and healthy environment for everybody as well. I also want to mention that even though my final year of uni sounded really, really hectic, I always made time for hanging out with friends or having breaks. I think I took more breaks in my final year than I did compared to my previous 2 years. And I ended up having more energy to do more things that time and just so much more energy to create things that way. So I definitely really, really recommend it. It's also less stressful that way. Also, finally, I just really want to reiterate that it's totally okay to not know what you're doing next. Like every time someone asks if I want to do community management forever, I'm just like, bro, I don't know what I'm having for dinner tonight. I literally forgot to take meat out of the freezer today. Like and you want me to tell you what I'm doing in a year's time? Like, no, like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to see like what pops up if I want to keep doing what I'm doing, or maybe something else will come up. And I'm more than happy to do that now. And that's it for my talk. So thank you for listening. Hopefully it was helpful. If not, then damn, that really sucks. But, you know, please check out these socials. I've worked very hard on them for the past year or so. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All good.
It was a great talk. Very tangible, very tactile. Everything. Positive.
Yes. Come with the hot takes.
So, yeah, existential. That was awesome. That was awesome. So before going through my name, I've got some questions. So like I really appreciate your salary transfer. Talk about this. That stops smart about it. Also, so your journey is very interesting because you tried everything, touched all the corners, and then you found your way around, and anything you did matters now. Anything and everything. So your social media presence. My question is, have you done a bit of study and like how long did it take to become the manager?
Like to kind of like learn how to kind of do
Yes,
it all.
yes.
So with Wanderer, I think.
What were the sources? How did you study about that?
So a lot of Twitter threads,
Okay.
but also I recommend checking out like there's GDC and there's like New Zealand GDC, which is Game Developers Conference. They upload talks and they have really good resources I recommend watching when they do like hour talks about it. There's also some strategies you can find online. There is, okay, you guys have all heard of Among Us. The community manager is named Victoria Tran, and she is incredible of a community manager. She has a blog. If you just Google Victoria Tran, she has all these blog posts about community management, how to create. She specifically focuses on creating kinder gaming communities and stuff like that. I think I could probably like email you some if you want.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of good resources by community managers. It's really good.
Questions?
Hello.
Hi.
Been a while.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what you could tell some of us who feel very internet shy. Because I'm always really scared that I have like two things that I ponder with when it comes to uploading something online.
Mm-hmm.
It's either this is better than I thought it was and somebody will try to steal it from me, or it's absolute shit.
Right.
There's no in between. And so that has made me, even though I've been drawing for years and years or been creating stuff for years, I just haven't shared anything that I've done. I don't really have a platform, and I'm very shy. So how do you break through that barrier?
So I guess like my first big thing that I want to say is like also it's not really exactly what you said, but like you definitely don't have to show your face online as well. If you're worried about like you being like physically attached to your work, you definitely don't have to do that with your art. You can just put your art up, but in terms of like worrying about if it's going to be received badly or like just the confidence of posting online, I think it's a matter of when you start a new account, you obviously are a small account, and I find you build more confidence the more you kind of just keep like chucking it out. So I remember when I first started posting on TikTok and Twitter, I would always stare at it like for ages, and I was like, okay, is this good enough? And then eventually I was kind of like, we'll just figure it out. And I think there's a little bit of like thick skin that you develop from it as well. Obviously there's not too many people who will deliberately go out there and be like, this sucks. Like there's a small amount that might come across, but overall it's kind of like focusing on the very like kind people who do react, and I think just slowly trying to put yourself out there. If you find something that is like you've got a piece and you're like, this looks nice, post it as soon as you can before you can like second guess yourself, because once it's out there you're like, there it is, it's out on the internet, I should just leave it, kind of thing. Like I think trying to like put it out there before you have that chance to second guess yourself, and then you'll notice that you can kind of just chuck them out there more and more. So yeah, just like practice and kind of growing that as you go, just getting used to it, I think. Yeah.
So for the next question, if you mind. Next question. Anyone? Okay, I've got questions actually. I just hold it because so online people can hear us. So like on your crunch times, so especially like it came to my mind when you launched a project in a month. So I assume that it's a heaps of work during that period, right? So like, how many hours per week?
So they hired me that first month, I was actually only doing 20 hours a week with them.
Mhm.
So I did 20 hours. They were like, do as
Oh,
much as you
okay.
can. If you hit 20 hours, then it's a problem for tomorrow.
Okay.
They're very much like, they don't want crunch culture because overall it makes the work like sloppy because people are exhausted. If we don't get something done, we luckily have a producer who can be like, okay, how can we rework our scope so that you don't feel overworked? Because at the end of the day, if we're overworked and we do crunch, then it's not going to be as good anyway.
This is a very good habit. It took me like a long time to learn it. Just say, you know, it's 5 p.m. You're halfway through, nothing works. Just forget and go home instead of like sticking to it and then find yourself it's 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Go home very exhausted. Yeah, very good. I like that. Please ask any question in the interview. So, how much of the skills you learned? So, you did VFX, and then you did game design, and then you did community management. How much of the skills traveled
From like logistic
from the
order.
VFX
Yeah.
to the VR game, and from both of them into the community?
Pretty much like most of it. I think the only thing I don't do anymore is like VFX. Like as in like I'm not in Houdini anymore. Like I'm not doing
Yeah.
simulations.
Yeah.
But I didn't do too much simulation anyway. I still interact with a lot of the 3D models for Another Crab's Treasure because I use the rigs and the models to create content.
Oh, you pose them and like, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
But I guess one thing to notice with that is that most of the time community managers don't do that. Usually developers will set up that stuff for them and then pass it on to the community manager to post. So it's a little different. A lot of community management roles vary on what they're doing. So it is also a different thing. So it's kind of unique that I'm hopping into the project because I have that skill from visual effects. And I think that's what they also really liked when they found my TikTok and knew that I had that skill.
And it makes you a unique, more efficient manager. So if you have something in mind, you can like, you know, instead of keep telling them, no, I want this, you just give it to me.
Yeah, a good example is, so Krill, who's the crab, that actually that exact gift there. So there's, on TikTok, people ask us questions and I reply to them with a video talking about the game. And one of the questions someone said is like, will Krill emote? And originally he just had like the basic face like that. And then I suggested to my coworkers, and I was like, oh, we should do a video showing them off. And then Nick was like, okay, I have something better. What if we implement a tool where you can hop into the game, and if you press L on the keyboard and use the joystick, it'll create a blend shape control for you to make yourself. So all I had to do now was hop into the game, press L on my keyboard, and I could use the joystick to be like up for like sad, down for angry, and like those little implementations were really cool. And just like made it efficient, like getting to work with them and then plus my knowledge together was like really cool to do.
Fantastic. Do you test play games before like talking on social media, like kind of before?
Like, did I playtest these games?
Yeah, like the games that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll like, when I started here, the first thing they gave me was a build of the game at the time. They'll like, sit down, play this, like clock your hours. Like, if you want to play it after work, you can just time it, and we'll pay you for those hours of playing the game. Because it is, yeah, because it's like it's professional development. It's learning about the game, and they were like, yeah, just sit down and play it because you want the community manager who's talking about and promoting your game to actually know what the game is. Yeah.
Fantastic. Questions? Yes, yeah.
I always have questions.
All good.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
Another one is that I'm very curious to know what you included in any kind of portfolio.
Ooh,
Oh, that's a
yes.
good question. Yeah.
So, with Wanderer, I included a video show reel of YouTube. I probably still have the email somewhere, but I was just like, if you're not hiring, I would like to, at the very least, introduce myself. And then I attached a show reel video, and I attached my website that was like a Wix site, and obviously my CV. I could probably find it if you want me to check it out. It's
Yeah, I can share with them.
yeah. It was just kind of like showing a variety of what I did. Like I said, as a generalist, I was like, okay, I have like no clue what I'm doing.
Can you put it on? Put it online. Maybe
Yeah.
At least one of us would be here. So what I encourage my students is to reach out, go see the world. You're seeing it remotely, which is great. So I always encourage my students to consider other destinations. So there are plenty of places that you can go experience life and work and learn stuff.
Yeah.
And come back home whenever. Oh, that's what you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
So this was I had music, but I'll just keep it really low. It doesn't really matter. I basically chucked in everything that I was like, I like this, I'm gonna chuck it in. So this is my 2019 one. Pretty sure this is the one I submitted. So like mocap. Oh, this is old. And then this was one of my VFX projects. We did like the horror, creepy little statue.
The creature.
Yeah. I think one thing that I would do now is try and keep it under a minute. That was my flour sack. I honestly just had fun playing with the props for this project, I think, and texturing. That was the best part. Our MTV like intro. So I definitely had a lean towards animation originally. So I definitely try to show that off more. I definitely felt that was my strength. Oh my god, I forgot about these. Oh. And that was it. Yeah, that's what I chucked in. And I put it on my email, which I don't know if I should do that, but I don't know.
So this is before your year 2.
Yeah, this is the one that I sent off to Wanderer to get an internship.
Yeah. For the internship.
Yeah. And then I attached like a Wix email, which was basically the same stuff, just in website format. Nowadays, my website is, it's again just a lot. Like you scroll down, it's like I do VFX, I do animation, I do community management. So anyone who looks at it is like, oh my god, like what do you do? Yeah. So that's basically what I chucked in. One thing I really want to like say is like don't be afraid to reapply to places like 6 months later. A lot of the time, if they aren't hiring when you first apply, they might not actually like read through your application, or they will and they'll be like, okay, we're not hiring. You can reapply to the same place again. Like they're not going to be like, this guy again. Like they're just going to be like, oh cool, like you might have improved in that time, or it might just be the right time and the right moment. Because that's exactly what happened with me at Wanderer. I just happened to apply at the right time. Yeah.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
I think that the portfolio should quantity.
Quality. I think quality, and I also recommend putting the best stuff that you want them to see at the very front. Yeah, definitely don't try and chuck in things that you aren't proud of just to fill up space. If you just chuck in the things that are like the best, I think.
So, one last question.
Mm.
What is the experience of working from home?
I really like going outside, like now, a lot more than before. The touch grass hits home to myself. It was a lesson I had to learn. So obviously I wake up in the morning and my day starts at 9, finishes at 5. I had to make myself start doing things like more actively after work outside. So I make sure I go to the gym. I also really value getting to go and do things with friends outside. And sometimes I do definitely get a little stir crazy inside when I'm like, I need to go outside. I need to touch grass. And then I'll go outside and just feel so much better. But I really enjoy not having to spend money on petrol. I really enjoy not having an hour commute in the morning, an hour back. I enjoy, with COVID, it was less of a risk for me because I just got to work from home. I have flatmates who work like retail, so they were at a lot more risk than me. So there's definitely a lot more privileges to it. Personally, I do like it, but I know that working from home isn't for everybody. I know that AgroCrab is more than welcome to help support me move over to the US if I wanted to. I just don't want to move over to the US. So, which is nice. But I'm finally going to meet them in the end of August in person. I'm going to go to Seattle. It's going to be very weird seeing like people I've seen online for a year. Like, I'm like, oh my God, you're real. But yeah, so I think, yeah, overall I enjoy it, but I know it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I can see that you balanced out all the negative things about it. So activity, being active, and socializing, taking care of the family, and also
Yeah.
worked it out.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning experience. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think
Cool.
that was do you agree that it was a very, very good talk? Yeah. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you. Oh yeah.
So, if you have been shy asking Paige questions, okay, approach her before she leaves and ask any
Yeah.
questions you might have.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just stopped this.
Also, if that first answer didn't make sense, let me know. I hope it was okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
All good.
So good.
Oh, I need to take this off.